Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle podcast, where we highlight the people and businesses that make Huntsville thrive. Today, my guest is Davina Patterson. She's the Executive Director of Disability Resource Network right here in Huntsville, Alabama, but also services 13 counties here in North Alabama. So they're making a huge impact in our area. You may not know exactly, if you're like me, you may have heard of them. You're doing exactly what they're doing. So I'm excited to learn more with you today. So Davina, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, maybe people have heard you on the surface there. They don't know. We're going to get into it. And you're doing so many cool things I didn't know about. So I'm excited about that. So first of all, in your own words, what do you guys do at the Disability Resource Network?
Well, our mission is to promote independence to people with disabilities through advocacy, community education, and consumer-controlled independent living services. And basically what that means to me is that we lead advocacy efforts. We also lead trainings, awareness to people with disabilities and to the community that focus on independent living. So that's how I would summarize our mission.
That's a great summary right there. So what all the kind of services and support you do provide?
So we provide 5 core services. The services that we provide are consumer driven. They are consumer controlled, and they would be independent living skills training. We do advocacy, peer support, information referrals, and transition services. So outside of being a service provider, we also work on systemic and social issues. So we do a lot of work with systems change and advocacy in the areas of transportation, employment, healthcare, education, and affordable and accessible housing. Those are some of our priorities that we work on to make the community more barrier-free, accessible, and inclusive for all people, but specifically people with disabilities. So we don't just provide services, we also do programs, and we're also on the side of changing the trajectory, just changing our environment and making it more inclusive for all.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, you guys are busy. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later. You got a ton of stuff coming up in the month of July, but kind of bringing it back, what inspired you to get involved in disability advocacy work?
I got involved in disability advocacy work. Of course, I have personal ties to disability, but outside of that, I wanted to just change the stigma and the trajectory and the narrative around disability, people with disabilities, what disability is, what disability looks like, and just unite different communities. So that was my reasoning for getting involved into disability advocacy. And I also want to just change some of the things that I see that's going on in society. As I've mentioned, transportation, housing, different areas such as that. So that would be my sole reasoning for getting involved into disability advocacy, I would say.
And that's it. I think if you don't have a disability, until you see it through someone else's eyes, you don't see it, right? It's just, life is normal, right? But if you're someone you love or someone you're connected with, you kind of see what they go through. Man, it just means so much. Because was there a point where this job became more than a job and almost like a calling for you?
It's always been a calling for me. It's never been a job. It's always been a calling. So I'm a mission-driven person, and I'm also a person of faith. So everything that I do is intentional, and it's a calling, and it's purpose fulfilling. So it's always been a calling for me. I love to make a difference, love to provide change in the world, and I just have so much inside of me, so many visions and things that I want to see come into fruition. And I plan on using my career as a platform to do that.
Hey, that's the way it's supposed to be, right? That's
Yeah.
how we should all be doing it. So you kind of mentioned some of them, but what are kind of some of the top barriers people with disabilities are facing in our community right now that you're helping to break down?
Yes, I did touch on those areas, but I can definitely reiterate that affordable, accessible housing, transportation, education, healthcare, and employment. Those are some of the largest barriers you see people with disabilities face from all different types of communities, whether it's a rural community or urban community. It still is a issue or barrier for people with disabilities. And of course, the accessibility is a challenge for people with disabilities. Some of our facilities and some of our programs still aren't accessible. They don't provide reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities.
Yeah, that's what you're working every day to help out with. So right there. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
you've worked with so many people over the years. Is there a story of someone you've worked with that's really stuck with you from over the years?
I have worked with a lot of people and I have a lot of success stories, but one particular success story that I often reflect on is there was a gentleman that was using our services. He was a consumer, and when I first met him, he came to us wanting transportation to medical appointments. He has grown over the time that we've worked with him. Not only has he been able to successfully attain transportation, he used a temporary system and now he can actually drive himself. And so he has a vehicle, he's living independently, and he's doing awesome things. So I often reflect back to that story when I think of a success story that sticks out of one of our consumers or a person that I personally know with a disability and see how they've changed and thrived and just grown over time.
That's it. Sometimes just people just need a little bit of a hand up just to get them going, help them get jump started, and they can take off and thrive like that gentleman right there. So I love hearing stories about that. So how can an average person like myself, who maybe I hear a little bit about, how can I be a better ally for you or advocate for the people with disabilities?
Yeah, I think just getting involved, volunteering, supporting, also helping bring awareness. Those are some things that people can be an ally and an advocate, and also just taking the time out to listen to a person with a disability. Sometimes we want to go through organizations and we want to go through family members and caregivers, but talk to people with disabilities directly. Find out what their needs are, find out from them firsthand some of the challenges and barriers they're facing. So just engaging in conversations with people with disabilities, getting involved, volunteering, supporting, donating. Those are some of the areas that I think a typical person could do with being an ally or advocate for people with disabilities.
Sure. So as a leader in this space, is there a top challenge you're facing? Is it changing policies? What's kind of your biggest challenge right now in this space?
For me, it's sometimes decision making that as easy as it seems. On paper, you can say, well, that's an easy decision to make. But when you're a human and when you have a heart for people and you love to serve people and help people, you sometimes get a little, it crosses paths. There's kind of like a collide there. So you want to help people, you want to do the right thing, but then you also have a mission or a business to take care of, and that sometimes that makes decisions you have to base it on facts and just raw numbers. And sometimes, but you can still help a person, but you may have to help them in a different way. It may look differently than providing that direct support. Sometimes we can help through systems advocacy. We can help in many ways. It may not be the way that they planned out or they intended for, because the decisions you had to make were fact based and results driven. So I would say sometimes decisions can be difficult for me to make. In relation to partnerships, employment, anything, sometimes that can be a little difficult for me. But in the end, I always make the right decision and I do the best that I can do and I do the right thing.
There you go. You're right, man. When human beings are involved, it's tough.
It
It's just tough
is.
when especially when you're personally involved. You probably know a lot of these people personally. Makes it
Right.
for a tougher decision. But you got to do what you got to do as a leader, right? That's part of being
Right.
a leader. So, I mean, you've been with the Disability Resource Network for a few years now. How's it evolved since you started?
It has grown. We're actually going through a restructuring now, so we have a new team, but it's evolved. We're starting to do more programs, events, and activities. So, like you said, this month is full of events, and in the future, you'll begin to see that happen a little bit more often. So, we're just changing how we deliver services. We're also just adding on some programs and making sure that accessibility is our focus. So this is a restructure period right now, and we may go through another one in 2 years or in 5 years because, like you said, we do have to evolve and change with the times.
That's it. So we mentioned that July is a very busy month. You have a ton of events going on. Can you kind of hit some, especially your big fundraiser coming up, kind of the big events you guys have coming up?
Absolutely. Our fundraiser is our signature event. It's called Reflections of Fireside Chat. And we have the Honorable Anthony Tony Coelho, who is the primary author and sponsor of the Americans Disabilities Act. He'll be our speaker for the event. and it'll be moderated by Dylan Bunnell of Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering. He also has a podcast as well, but it'll just be a celebration for people with disabilities to come out to learn about the ADA, the history of it, the process, Mr. Coella, his impact and everything that he's done to bring equal rights to our community and to our nation, and how he's just transformed the landscape of our country. So we'll have our signature event is on July 19th, and it's at 5 o'clock, and the program starts at 6:30, but we do have a social hour scheduled at 5 o'clock. We also have on July the 8th, we have a collaboration that we're doing with the Orion Amphitheater. It's called a Moment in Time series, where we'll be collaborating with them and some other members of the community for Disability Pride Month celebration. We also are doing an open house on July the 9th with our partners, Arbor Valley Communities, our new staff, so you can learn about our services and our programs. It's a time for us to just really talk about who we are and bring awareness to the community of our services. So it's going to be at the Stove House on July 9th. We have a housing workshop. We have a transportation training. We have a youth community awareness event that we're attending. So we are booked for the month of July. And myself personally, I will be going to DC, Washington, DC, doing some advocacy work as well. So July is a very, very busy month for us. And we hope that everyone will come out and support and get involved, because we have a lot of opportunities and choices for everyone.
Absolutely. Across the board, there's a way to get involved. You can be involved if you want to get involved. Now you know how, but how what's the website? What's the social media? How can people get in touch with you guys?
So our website is www.drn256.org. Our social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I think Instagram is the only one that's different, is at DRNAL256. The others are, if you search Disability Resource Network and you see our logo, that's us. Because I do believe there's another Disability Resource Network, but ours, you should be able to view it or access it or recognize it by our logo.
That's it. We'll get that link to show notes. So you can just click on things. If you're like me, you don't spell very well. So you can go in there and just click on things, take you right there. So thank you so much for the work you're doing in our community. I think it's so important that, like I said, I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know all the scope and things that you do for our community. So I really appreciate all you're doing out there and your group. And July is going to be a big month. So we got ways to get involved. So let's get out there and get involved and help out and serve as well. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing, highlighting small businesses in Huntsville. I think that's phenomenal that you have taken that charge and that you're doing that. Some of us, we're small, and so we need that extra support. And so it's amazing to have people like you in the community that wants to spotlight and highlight small businesses and nonprofits. So thank you.
Oh, that's it. So people just may not know. They may want to be involved, but they just don't know how. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to collaborate, not cooperate, and get along, and everybody can just grow together. That's the plan. Because Huntsville's getting bigger and bigger, right? It's hard to keep up with everything. So that's why I wanted to start this selfishly for myself, so I can learn more about other people, but also for people like yourself that are doing cool things in our community that people get involved in. So thank you for that. And thank you for you guys for listening today and watching this. Please share this and get involved. We want to spread the word as far as we can about the cool stuff they're doing out there. And if you want to get involved, you go to the website, click on there, get involved, go to the one and think July is a busy month. Go pick out one, go check it out. Davina, keep up the great work, and we'll see you guys next week on the Huntsville Hustle podcast.